as quiet as it's kept, a lot of individuals who may have grown up under kind of limited circumstances and in neighborhoods which would not lend themselves to one being successful. There have been a lot of people who have come from these neighborhoods, one of which would have been Tyndall Heights and the Tyndall Heights area. And in spite of the circumstances of growing up in these limited environments, people have, a lot of people I know have become successful. And they beat the odds of having problems and not being able to overcome these situations. And my guest today is such a person, in the person of Councilor Virgil Adams. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and I'm very, very pleased to have Virgil with me. I can call him that because I taught him, in high school, and I'm very, very thrilled that he has grown up and has come to be one of the most successful individuals in our community. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all of your success and where you've come from, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you.
But tell us a little bit, I don't need to talk about where you came from. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thank you for all you did in helping shape me to whatever degree I am successful today. I appreciate that. But I was born on Riverside Drive, right where the Waffle House is right now. We lived in a rental house there, mother, grandmother, two sisters and a cousin and an aunt.
All in the same house?
All in the same house, right there on Riverside Drive where the Waffle House is. And we moved when I was going to the 6th grade. We moved on Plant Street, and I went to B.S. Ingram. I started out at Green Street. And then I lived on Plant Street from that point on.
Right there next to Tyndall Heights.
Right next to Tyndall Heights, and played on the center field in Tyndall Heights.
Yeah.
And walked to school every day, and my mother and aunt, they still live in the home house there along with my older sister. But that's where I come from, and that's what I always remember, and I think that environment helped shape me as well. But I went to B.S. Ingram, I then went to Ballard Hudson Junior High School, and then when integration, I won't say when integration came, when it was finally implemented, then I got sent to Central High School. Everybody across the street from me went to Southwest. I went to Central, and I graduated from Central in 1973.
Okay.
And as you know, you taught me English there at Central. And from Central, I went to college at Albany State University. Graduated from Albany State in 1977 and came back and went to law school at Mercer, and graduated from Mercer in 1980. Volunteered in the DA's office while I was in law school, and as a result of that, they provided me with a position as an assistant DA after I graduated from law school. And I stayed there until January of 1988, and then went into private practice with a childhood friend, Charles Mathis, one of my current partners now, Jimmy Jordan, and my good friend Louis Sands, who's now Judge Louis Sands.
Right.
And that firm has developed over the years to what is now known as Adams, Jordan, and Harrington.
Right. Well, now, in spite of growing up in that limited environment, what do you think are the factors that contributed to your success? As you know, and I noticed you didn't mention, I guess you grew up in a single parent type home, and I mean, this is a situation oftentimes in our community. In spite of that, because what I want individuals to know, including these young boys, to know that, although we would rather, have the male influence in one's life, but that doesn't mean that you can't be successful. So what you think kind of contributed to that?
Well, you're correct. First of all, I did not grow up with my father. I think I probably met my father, who did not live in Macon at the time that I was growing up. Over my years, I think I probably met him maybe 3 times,
Wow.
4 times. But had a strong support system, not just within the house, strong grandmother, but not just within the house, with the neighborhood. And you know, you hear this notion about a village raising a child. Well, that's actually how it was back then. The whole neighborhood. You know, if you did something wrong, anybody in the neighborhood had the right to discipline you, and certainly, you know, to tell your folks about what was going on. But that sort of system, as well as, especially my grandmother saying, go to school, get the education, and if you do, one day you'll be able to do what you want to do, live where you want to live, have the kind of opportunities that other folk were having, you know, at the time. So that support system within the family, also good teachers who and strong principals who stressed education and opportunity, and that was from grammar school all the way up through high school. And you know, again, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show, but people like you know, were role models, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying, because as you know, there are all kinds of efforts to improve the educational system. And I think sometimes the system, not just the educational system, or not just be a board of education, but I'm saying generally, a lot of the systems have lost the importance, don't realize the importance of good teachers. You know, talk about that. Talk about how some of these individual teachers influence your life.
Oh, absolutely. I remember the first lady I ever had a crush on was my first grade teacher, Miss Bernice Halls. She was a tall, striking lady, wore hair in a bun. Absolutely just a pretty lady, but not just physically, but a pretty spirit. And you could tell she really, really cared about her students. I know one of the worst days in my life, at least I thought at the time, we were out for recess and we used to play with these bean bags. And I threw one on top of the building, and I sure hated to tell Miss Halls that I disappointed her by throwing that bean bag on top of the building. But she was a real caring lady, and I just always remember her. And then I had one teacher in the 3rd grade, Miss Ketch, that was just a strong disciplinarian, but fair. And all of that, again, played a major role. And I think teachers who care, students will see that. They'll see that you care, and I think that makes a huge difference. I think part of the problem too, and I'm not an expert on education by any means, but to me, education has gotten so complicated that we've gotten away from just the basics. And I know part of that is because students are not what they used to be. And I think that's in large part because parents are not what they used to be. I think if parents took a greater role like our parents did, whether it was mother, father, or whomever, then the teachers wouldn't be faced with the kind of students that they're faced with, and it would make their job easier. But also, the teachers have to have the compassion and have to have not just compassion, but the passion for the job.
Right.
And I think, you know, if we can somehow get that combination going, I think it would make a whole lot of difference.
Well, I mean, and we talk about that because it's so important to our community. I mean, I know that you've been involved in several nonprofits and several initiatives in the community, and I'd like for you to name some of them, but I think you would agree that probably, potentially, the best contributing factor to all of these entities and all of these organizations and all of this business development being successful is the educational system.
Oh, absolutely, no question about it. That's the foundation of everything. That's the engine that drives this community because it drives economic development, it drives low criminal rate or crime rate, it drives a high crime rate, it drives poverty, it drives everything.
Well, I'm kind of glad you said that because I'm sure that you will agree with me that it's not just the Board of Education's responsibility, to make sure that, our young people are educated. It's the village.
Oh, absolutely, because, with teachers and school system personnel, they only get what's presented to them.
Yes, sir.
They get that child as the child comes to them, and they spend most of the child's hours during the day spent with that teacher. So again, if we could do something about the parenting situation, if we could kind of get that right, get parents a little bit more connected with their students, with their children, and then present a better student to the school system.
I'm going to interrupt you. Now, what we're saying here, and I think that it's important to the community. You've got a whole lot of folk, whole lot of organizations, whole lot of religious institutions, a whole lot of nonprofits who say they want to make a contribution to the betterment of our community. So I guess both of us are suggesting, not trying to put words in your mouth, but both of us are suggesting that maybe everybody, every organization, every individual, every neighborhood ought to try to determine if there's a way they can assist, with the parenting. You got the major organization trying to assist with education, but, from the grassroots level, and if you want to see a successful community and a successful city and a successful neighborhood, maybe with some of these resources, there can be some time and some effort spent in assisting, some of these parents, through mentoring and other types of activities.
Absolutely, because, we have to break that cycle. And when we were young, and I know when I was young, grandmother looked like a grandmother.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, looked like, Big Mama looked like Big Mama, okay? But now, sometimes there's not a lot of difference between mother and grandmother.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I think we've lost sight of what it means to be a parent. It's one thing to have a child and raise a child, but it's a different thing to be a parent to the child. You can say, I take care of my child, I give them something to eat, they got a place to stay, I send them to school. But that's not being a parent.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of raising the child.
Yeah.
But we have to be parents. And I think if we do that, that'll impact the whole gang situation, because that's what that's all about.
Yes, sir.
Looking for a parent.
Yes, sir.
Looking for what's not given at home.
Yes, sir. So I guess we will try to suggest to young people and the parents and grandparents that, we need to kind of control, these children being born in single parent situations. If possible, we would really need to try to avoid that because it just wreaks havoc on the community and on the Board of Education. The other thing I think all parents could do, and you could probably get some assistance out of this, is, go to the school.
Exactly.
Be a part of the parent-teachers organization because, we got a lot going on in Macon, as it relates to growth and development, but all of us can benefit from it, but all of us need to be involved in the educational system. Talking about involvement, tell me the things in which you have been involved.
Well, I try to give back to the community because the community gave back to me. But I'm a member of 100 Black Men of Macon Middle, Georgia. We founded that organization back in 1996, and we adopted.
20 years.
Yeah, and we adopted the 6th grade class, 5th grade class at Ingham Pike, and we followed the students and agreed to provide the college education or whatever post-secondary education those students decided to go into. If they, stayed together, we provided them whatever resources they needed, and I'm happy to say we were able to send 20 of those kids
Wow.
to some form of post-secondary education. So I do a lot with 100 Black Men. I also support Motivating Youth Foundation. I am their legal counsel, not paid, but it's a good organization. It started by a childhood friend of mine, a good guy, Roger Jackson,
Yes,
who's
sir.
passionate about it. So I help them, through those means. And, do other things too. Try to speak to students in schools when I get an opportunity. And then just try to help out any way that I can.
We're going to take a break. But first, this is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. I'm interviewing Counselor Virgil Adams. We'll be right back. Part of our mission at the Macon, Middle Georgia Black Pages is to provide a resource to identify African American owned businesses throughout Central Georgia. And so we try to make it very, very easy for individuals to be able to find African American owned businesses throughout Central Georgia. So you can either get the book proper, or you can go online at www.maconblackpages.com and find the businesses listed by category. For more information, call us at 478-464-0074. Thank you very much.
www.makingblackpages.com.
We're back, and I'm pleased to be able to have with me today Attorney Virgil Adams, who's a lifelong resident of Macon, went to local schools, etc., and have been remarkably successful in our community in spite of a somewhat limited upbringing environmentally, because he's talked about the role and influence that individuals in the community have had on his life. Why did you want to become an attorney?
I tell this story to students all the time. When I was a senior at Central High School, I took a class called Business Law. Former school board member Betty Phillips taught the class. And as part of that class, she would bring speakers in. And she brought the district attorney in at that time, who was Fred Hasty. And she also took us down to the courthouse on a field trip, and we got to sit in on a trial. And I remember it was a criminal trial. Judge Culpepper, just show you how things came back around, but Judge Culpepper was a judge at that time, and little did I know that at some point I would come back around and actually appear in front of him. But they were trying a case called the Barefoot Rapist. And it was this kind of young white guy, and what he would do, he was terrorizing South Macon. He was going in the windows, committed rape, but he'd take his shoes off and leave them outside of the window. So they started calling him the Barefoot Rapist, and he committed several rapes, and they called him, and they were having a trial, and I remember sitting in there, and I was just fascinated. I was just fascinated by it, and decided that, yeah, I really did want to play baseball, but this is what I really, really wanted to do, and that's really what did it.
Wow. And you were the assistant DA, and what did you do? Now tell me though, and I know we kind of tell me, was it you who had the baseball bat?
Yeah.
Tell me the baseball bat story.
Yeah, this was when I was an assistant DA. I tried a case. It was actually a case that we saw and got the death penalty on. And this is not something I'm speaking about in terms of pride or anything, but just factual. It's actually the last death penalty sentence in Macon.
Oh, wow.
But it was a guy named Keith Patillo. He had met a young girl who was a student at Mount DeSales down at Central City Park. Met her and a friend, and they agreed on a date. And he didn't have a car, but she and a friend picked him up one Friday night, and they went riding around. They dropped the friend off, and she was supposed to take him home, but they wound up down below Central City Park, and there was an okra field down there that a local farmer had. And the next morning, he went down to check on his okra, and he saw her body there. And this guy had beaten her to death with a Louisville Slugger baseball bat. And you know, the blows were so hard. I remember there was one where the tip of her finger was found some distance from her, and it was like she put a hand up to her head. But anyway, we sought the death penalty on Keith Patillo. And during the closing argument, and this kind of again goes back to why I want to be an attorney, you know, and be in the courtroom, because you're an advocate. You know, you have to believe in your case, no matter which side you're on. And I think you have to show some passion. And when I was giving the closing argument, and I had the baseball bat in my hand, and I'll be honest, I probably shouldn't even say this on camera. I looked at it real hard with the baseball hat, and you know what was kind of running through my mind. But not that I would do that, but wanted to. But, and I hit the baseball bat on the floor a few times, but really not acting, but just passionate about how could this guy do this to this young girl who was just getting ready to go to college.
What do you think the importance of, you know, oftentimes, you know, from the reverse side, people are put in situations and scenarios that sometimes are unfair or that sometimes could be lessened with counsel. So what is the importance, what is your advice to the community as it relates to counseling? Attorneys, get a lawyer.
You absolutely have to do that. There's an old saying that I think is very, very true. He who represents himself has a fool for a client. No one needs to go to court by themselves, no matter what it is, because when you do, I mean, just face it. You go in the courtroom, you're not a trained lawyer. You're the one in there standing in front of the judge that's got the least knowledge about what you're doing. And how can you expect to have a good outcome if you know less about what's going on than anybody else there? That's not a good situation. So I advise everyone, get an attorney. That's some things that I don't die.
And it's not limited to criminal situations.
No, especially civil, and we do a lot of civil cases. That's primarily what we do. We do a lot of personal injury litigation, and classic situation a lot of times is someone's involved in an automobile accident. Typical insurance company, they'll call them. I'll give you $1,000 or whatever. And I've even had situations where insurance company has offered someone like $1,000, but then the person that hit them was under the influence of alcohol.
Right.
So the person didn't know that in Georgia, not only are you entitled to get damages for being injured, but if a person is under the influence, you're entitled to get punitive damages against that person for just drinking and driving. Insurance companies know that, so here's a person, they offer you $1,000, $2,000, you take it, you think you got something, and on the other hand, if you had a lawyer, you get a bunch more. So, it does not pay to try to represent.
So what areas of law does your firm cover?
We cover primarily personal injury cases. That's people who are injured, seriously injured in automobile accidents. We do a lot of medical negligence cases, and if there's anything that's opened my eyes a lot in doing personal injury, it's just the magnitude of medical negligence out there. And that's not to say that all doctors are bad. Don't mean that at all. But what we see is just the tip of the iceberg, and what's scary is what we don't see. Right. So we do a lot of medical negligence cases, and then the serious automobile accident, nursing home litigation, tractor truck injuries, that sort of thing.
Now, I understand that you're being recognized and that you're going to receive an award. From whom and for what?
Well, I'm real humble about this, but next month, the law school, Mercer University School of Law School, Walter F. George School of Law, will recognize 2 individuals as their alumnus of the year. One will be Justice Hugh Thompson, who's on the Georgia Supreme Court, good friend, and then I'm the other alumnus that will receive the Alumnus of the Year award.
Well, congratulations. It's been a long haul, I'm sure, but I again want to congratulate you for the role that you have played in our community from all perspectives, educationally, socially, economically, and academically. And you are a good citizen, and you set a good example.
Thank you.
That everybody can be somebody if they put their minds to it. And congratulations on receiving the award. And as a former teacher, you know, I'm proud of you, boy. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I remember that old saying you told us, a man's reach must exceed his grasp, or what's ahead of him.
That's correct. And this what, 30 years ago? How long you been out of high school?
Long enough. 1973.
Yeah, this is 40 years later.
Mm-hmm. That's
40
exactly
years
right.
later.
Yes.
So you remember it, and we're proud of you. Thanks for all that you do for the community. And just keep up the good work, and we wish you Godspeed.
Thank you.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. Have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com.
Part of our mission at the Macon, Middle Georgia Black Pages is to provide a resource to identify African American owned businesses throughout Central Georgia. And so we try to make it very, very easy for individuals to be able to find African American owned businesses throughout Central Georgia. So you can either get the book proper, or you can go online at www.makingblackpages.com and find the businesses listed by category. More information, call us at 478-464-0074. Thank you very much.
www.makingblackpages.com.
Of this country. So that's what I would say to everybody. Get involved, stay involved, do something for someone else, and you'll feel so good
I'm going to end
about
with this
yourself.
comment. Don't just stand there.
I tell you.
Do something.
That's right.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Commissioner Elaine Lucas.
www.makingblackpages.com.